People whose marriage lasted less than a year, what went wrong? We expedited the marriage because she was preggo, and I loved her already, so wasn't concerned about it. I was working crazy hours so she could stay home with the baby, and our schedule started shifting so we didn't spend as much time together. She had postpartum, and started playing online role-playing games all night, and met a guy who didn't work, and lived off of his mother, so he had all the time to talk to her. Long story short, she kissed our daughter, gave her to me, and ran off with him. Fast forward over a decade, and we're fine as friends now, and my daughter is cuddled up beside me as I type this, playing on her tablet. The karma is time and lifestyle haven't been kind to her, and our daughter would rather be with me, and trust me more. Man, this story sucks. College roommate. He met a girl junior year that our entire group though was wrong for him. But love is blind. Fast forward to summer after graduation, and they are to get married in the fall. I am in the wedding. They were apart for most of the summer, as he was working and she was finishing school and putting the wedding together. We converge on her hometown in Colorado. Wedding goes down, big reception, lots of money dropped on this one. We see them off to the honeymoon and I return to St. Louis to home sweet home. 7 days later, I get a call from him asking if he can come stay with me. Sure. I pick him up at the airport single. At his insistence we hit the nearest bar, and I get to hear all about how she cheated on him over the summer but went ahead with the marriage because she felt pressured by how much her parents were paying. She told him pretty much as soon as they were alone after the ceremony. Not at any time during the 7 to 10 days they were together before the wedding. She insists they go on the honeymoon to work things out, but refuses to be intimate as she still has feelings for the other guy. So he never returns to her. Gets checked for all the STDs negative, and has the marriage annulled within 6 months. My mom's marriage to her first husband was only a year and a half at most. He was diagnosed with cancer, and he said that he wanted to marry her before he died, so they got married and took a honeymoon to Hawaii, because he'd always wanted to go there too. This is the saddest story here. Husband decided to start an affair within 3 months of marriage, found about 6 months after. Still maintains there was nothing wrong, just thought it would have been over before I found out. Oh, and our baby was only 6 months old. What a catch of a man. Started divorce proceedings after waiting the year minimum. This one's kind of fucked up, happened to a friend. We were deployed to Okinawa. My friend married his girl prior to deployment. He found out mid-deployment that she cheated on him. But the way he found out was kind of messed up. He checked his FB one day and saw a message from some dude he didn't know. The guy straight up told him that he slept with his wife. She didn't say she was married, and when he checked her FB he saw she was married to my friend. He felt guilty, and had to message him. My friend wasted no time and divorced her in Oki. I'm not sure if that was possible. I just remember him doing some kind of legal work the following day. At least she picked an upstanding guy to fuck? Sorry, just looking for the silver lining. My cousin was married for 18 hours, or something ridiculous like that. To hear her tell it, there was a really apocalyptic argument on their wedding night over where they went from there. The moral of the story appears to be that before you get married, you and your spouse should have roughly compatible ideas of what you're looking for out of a marriage. How many kids, when to have them, where you live, whether you both work, money issues, etc. That's not stuff that just works itself out magically over time. I pictured them driving in the car after their wedding ceremony wondering where to go next and then breaking up lol. The day after the wedding a sheriff showed up on our doorstep with child support papers for a 3-month-old baby. Turns out he had been sleeping with his coworker. I was willing to look past the indiscretion, but when he refused to take responsibility for his child I couldn't handle it anymore. The kid shouldn't have to suffer because his dad is an idiot. Divorce was final 11 months after our wedding day. Mine lasted just a little over a year, but close enough. Married my girlfriend of 4 years right before getting deployed. She didn't have anything to keep herself busy while I was gone, job, hobby, etc. Ended she up getting into drugs while I was gone, then I got her pregnant during my 2-week leave in the middle of the deployment. She felt so trapped that she had talked me into agreeing to give our child up for adoption once she was born. I was so blindly in love with her that I would have agreed to darn near anything she suggested. She ended up leaving me a week after our daughter was born, and canceling the adoption, taking her back from the adopting parents. Long story cut short, she got back into drugs, pretty sure she wasn't on them while pregnant with my daughter, had 2 more kids with whoever was her dealer at the time, and CPS ended up stepping in, which gave me full custody of my daughter. Not a day goes by when I look at my daughter and wonder what the fuck I was thinking, and I'm so glad to have this wonderful, crazy, little girl in my life. She started feeling trapped, as in, my expectation of monogamy was too much. So she discovered polyamory, decided she wanted to be polyamorous with her boss, and that it was worth opening the marriage no matter what. She was pretty surprised when I divorced her. The final straw was when he held me down after 6 weeks of marriage and anally raped me, telling me over and over, "You can't rape your wife." Took another month to figure out how to leave and put my plan in motion. Moved 400 miles away, started over, then believed him when he said he went to detox and recovery and gave him one more chance. Less than 2 weeks later, I had a gun put to my head, an ashtray thrown across the room at my face, and security had to remove him from my job twice. Had to get the police involved to get him out of my rent house, then disappeared again. Safe now, been 21 years since then, and am now married to the love of my life. We were kids when we got together. Grew up together but in different directions. We got married to fix the relationship. The day after our wedding, my dad was hospitalized with alcohol-related things and almost died. My new husband told me he would not go with me to the hospital and hoped my dad died since he felt he deserved to die. Yeah, Dad lived. Still going strong and kicked the drinking completely for almost a decade now. Ex-husband jumped in front of a train a year after the divorce. When I got home from Afghanistan, my wife at the time admitted that she had sex with 23 guys while I was gone. Needless to say, our marriage ended real quick. Fucking hell, 23? I'm surprised she even bothered to keep count after one. Sorry you had to come home to such a shit show. I can't even imagine how that conversation felt. He went through police academy while we were engaged and became a member of the police force the week before we married. When we returned from our honeymoon and he was presented with all his service goodies, the guns, the honor badges, etc., his power-hungry, violence-obsessed side decided to make an appearance. He came obsessed with having his way. Everything must go and everyone must do as his plan dictated because he was the law. This mostly impacted me because I instantly became his property. He was also a nasty alcoholic, which he managed to keep secret while in academy. I hoped naively, at age 23, that he would reform with the new responsibility. I was wrong. His favorite habit was to get drunk off cheap vodka and play with his service weapons. When he would go out drinking with his buddies, I had developed a routine of removing the clips from his guns and triple-checking to make sure no round were in the chamber. I would put everything back in place the next morning before he would go to work. He had always been verbally and mentally abusive. I was stupid. No one would ever want me. I was so lucky that he at least tolerated me. He enjoyed practicing his takedown moves on me. For reference, he was a 275 plus lb weightlifter, while I am 5 feet 8 inches, 130 pounds. He choked me out multiple times to the point of losing consciousness. But I was afraid to say a word. He convinced me that I couldn't call the cops on him because I am the police. They won't believe you over me. The straw that broke the camel's back was a night that he went out drinking and came home in the mood for some confrontation. He woke me up demanding sex. I refused because he was sloppily drunk and reeked of cigarette smoke and alcohol. In his anger at my rejection, he dragged me from bed and proceeded to beat me. He had never physically hurt me before. He beat me until the only place that wasn't completely bruised and swollen was my face. He was smart enough to avoid places that couldn't be concealed by clothes and makeup. And then, he took his service weapon and pointed it at my head and pulled the trigger. Because I had removed the clip and bullets, his attempt to shoot me was a failure. Enraged by this, the beating continued until he exhausted himself and passed out on the floor. I packed a small bag, grabbed my cat, and left. I filed for divorce a few days later, and never went back. My attorney stood proxy for me at the hearing, and I tried to close the chapter on that book. It's been 7 years, and I still have nightmares and difficulty with intimacy. We were married exactly 11 months. It's a fucked up thing to think you could be dead right now if it wasn't for your own smarts. After spending a year together, we got married so he wouldn't get deported. I took care of him, paid all the bills, paid to sponsor him. Turns out he was already married in his own country. Yup. Took me a while to stop being bitter over the thousands of dollars I got conned out of. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.